Is the American dream over? In this video, I want to share with you 2 strategies to be able to help you with your foreclosure and credit cards. Hey everyone, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, and welcome to the channel where we help with your foreclosure, income, and credit. So currently, credit card debt is at a staggering $1.1 trillion and counting here in the US. And foreclosures, wow, well, foreclosures are in a bubble. According to Adam Data Solution, which recently published their first quarter report, foreclosures are up 42% with 46,800 filing. Now this doesn't factor in the current bubble that we're in, that we're on the brink of. In fact, foreclosure activity declined in March. But this is what Adam Data had to say about it. This is the latest sign of the strong national housing market. However, comes with a huge caveat because it captures the pivotal month when millions of Americans started losing their jobs because of the economic fallout continued to the coronavirus pandemic. Banks are temporarily holding off on foreclosures, and we expect this will bring foreclosures even lower for at least the next few quarters. However, with unemployment and other distress factors hitting the economy now, the numbers could rise significantly later this year into next, depending on how many people keep up with their payments. So that's the status, and that's a snapshot of foreclosures and the bubble that's waiting to pop. In addition to that, we have a national debt that's at currently $25.3 trillion. And that's the published estimate. Some estimates put the actual number at $124 trillion. So we're really not in good shape when it comes to the national overall snapshot of where we are as far as our financial health. Now, what does this mean to all of us? So what does that mean for you and for me? Well, billionaire Rinde Adebayo said that the 2020 crisis will be far larger and greater than the 2008 financial crisis that we faced a few years ago, citing his income and balance sheet theory and also highlighting the short-term debt correction that we're currently about to face. So there are many reasons why we're in a serious crisis, not just in real estate and foreclosure, but also in our credit cards, the economy, and our all-around stability as a nation. Number 1 is the coronavirus. This is an enemy that we still have not conquered. This is something that we do not have a cure for currently, and it's taken the lives of over 104,000 Americans. It's also caused widespread disruption all around the world by shutting economies down, shutting movement down, and restricting states from actually having a flow. Businesses have been closed because of it. With its social distancing, things have been put in place to be able to help people to avoid getting sick. Number 2 is the unemployment. We're currently sitting at over 40 million people who filed for unemployment in the U.S. And that number is actually expected to not only continue to increase, but also to swell. Because as time goes on, no matter what happens, even if they open up the economy tomorrow, it's still going to take time for people to be able to get work. And then there are businesses that are going to also still succumb. Number 3 would be disruption. We've had our lives disrupted by the coronavirus. It's been a widespread disruption all around, and no one, I can say, is not affected by this. Everyone has had their life disrupted in one way or another because of this current situation that we're in. Number 4 is racial unrest. This issue of racism in the U.S. that really has caused many people to have their life shattered, and also caused pain that's beyond belief. In many cases, that I believe that now with this, what we're seeing currently is going to cause not only disruption economically, but it could be another way for the coronavirus to not only uptake, but also to cause a further disruption than what we already are dealing with. So in essence, the many reasons that I've actually cited all pulled together, we're at war, folks. We're at war. That's where we are right now. We lived through a war when I lived in Africa. We escaped the war, and thank God for my mom, we were able to escape, and we came to the U.S. in 1989. And I know what it's like to actually be in the middle of a war. When you're in a war, you're not thinking about wearing Gucci. You're not thinking about, driving a nice Bentley. You're not thinking about school. You're not thinking about anything because you're thinking about survival. You don't know if you're going to be living tomorrow. And this is the state that I feel like the U.S. is in. Currently, we're at war because if you look at all these factors, they are just basically a horrible situation that we're currently in. And unfortunately, it's going to get worse. In Matthew 24, verse 6, Jesus said it himself, and he said, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in various places. And all these things are the beginning of sorrow." So rest assured, we're not able to pinpoint and count on things getting better. However, we can do something about our situation, and that's why I want to share with you these two strategies to help you regarding your foreclosure and also your credit card. So first, foreclosure. So as I mentioned, everything with foreclosures right now is currently in a bubble because most places and most municipalities are in a moratorium. And lenders have actually frozen proceeding forward with foreclosures, and the only reason they've done that is because they're restricted by the state and the mandates that have been passed through not only the CARES Act, but also adhering to government and state restrictions that have been placed on their movements and their activity with foreclosing on property and real estate, in particularly your properties. Now, what's going to happen is that we're leading up to a time that they're going to lift those restrictions. And when those restrictions get lifted, then everyone that's actually pending or in a situation of compromise will be exposed. At that point, that's when it's going to be where you and I have to now start to deal with these servicers and these mortgage companies to figure out what the way forward is. So the one main strategy that I wanted to point out to you when you're dealing with that, because as we're talking about the roof over your head, is you need to know how to negotiate with your lender. And that's very key. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is that not all lenders are created equal. There are many stark differences between lenders that are out, issuing loans and servicing these mortgages. And you're going to find that out. So when you're actually in a situation now where the restrictions are lifted and you're having to now face dealing with, coming off of forbearance, and you're trying to figure out how to keep your home, you don't have the money to pay the forbearance and bring it current or reinstate the mortgage, so to speak, and they already have you queued up for foreclosure where they can file a lis pendens against you. What do you do with the lender at that point? What do you do if you're talking to your friend or your family member and they're saying that their lender and their mortgage company, made things easier for them, but then your mortgage company has made it difficult? They're making things more stringent. They're making it harder. They're making you go through hoops. Well, the main thing is you need to understand how to negotiate. Negotiation is going to be very key going forward, not only this year, but into the next year, while we're actually going through coming out of this whole situation and resetting ourselves, not only as a country, but resetting ourselves back to life. You're going to have to be able to be a master or keyed in at negotiating with your mortgage company, because it's going to take negotiation. And the reason why this is a very important point is because let's say they decide that they're going to open up the economy. Well, yeah, they opened up the economy, but then maybe you may not get a job right away. It might take you 5 months to get a job. So while the mortgage company expects you, and they expect that being that the economy is opened up, that you would actually start, you would be able to fulfill your obligation. Well, what happens in a situation where it takes you time to be able to get back on your feet? Not everyone's going to be on an equal playing field. Because the economy opens up tomorrow doesn't mean that everyone's going to have a job right away. The 40 million people that are actually have filed unemployment, those numbers are real. Whether all of them are broke or whether all of them don't have any work or any jobs or any financial means whatsoever, well, what happens in a situation where the government funding and the CARES Act, the stimulus bills, all these additives that have been given to us runs out? And then they have to go back to the workforce. They're all going to rush the workforce. They're all going to be looking for opportunities. It's going to be very competitive. So how do you actually then deal with your mortgage company when they're expecting that, okay, well, they've officially reopened and restarted the economies, so now people are expected to start to meet their obligations, but you can't. It's going to take you time. So you have to actually be dialed in with negotiation to be able to know how to navigate and deal with your servicer, particularly if you're dealing with a servicer that's a difficult one. And if you're just dealing with a servicer that's actually cooperating, you need to know how to negotiate to be able to put yourself in the best position to be able to get the most time. Like I've shared with you guys here, I did a recent video where I shared with you all on one of my properties. I own properties here in New Jersey, and one of my properties I was able to negotiate a forbearance that almost 1 year out. This is not an FHA mortgage, it's a conventional regular mortgage. But I was able to do that. And that's because we're dialed in with how to negotiate with mortgage servicers. You need to know what your rights are, and you need to know what buttons to push to be able to get your negotiations pushed through to get what your needs are met. So that's a very important key I wanted to point out to you regarding foreclosures, because you're going to need the negotiation tool going forward when you're dealing with your servicer, how to actually hold on to your property while you sort yourself out and get back on your feet. Number 2, credit cards. So when the pandemic started, many people reached out to the credit card companies to see what could be done. What workouts were they giving to people, being that everyone else was kind of like giving some ease of restriction and giving a helping hand. And most people got the response from the credit card company, and the response was this: well, what we'll do is we'll work with you on your minimum payment due. We'll lower your minimum payment, or we'll split up your minimum payment. We'll do something regarding your minimum payment. When you asked them the question regarding whether or not they were still going to report negatively to the bureaus, they told you that it was outside of their hands. These are the things that these are the responses that most people got from credit card companies. And what in essence, it basically meant that the credit card companies did not do much to be able to help the situation. This is why there are long hold times when you call the credit card companies, because so many people have been trying to figure out what to do. They know that they've ran up their credit cards for so much and so high, and so they're trying to figure out not only how to stop their credit card company from negatively reporting them, but also trying to figure out how they can hold on. And so it's a real problem because, as I said earlier when I first started the video, $1.1 trillion in credit card debt. Most people, majority of people they are in debt. The average American has over $20,000 in credit card debt. So what do you do and how do you fix the issue with your credit card when you actually have this debt that's on there and you're obligated to pay it? At the same time, you actually are dealing with your foreclosure on one hand and you're trying to decide which one is more important. Obviously, the house would be more important, but this credit card is very important because you need to either preserve your credit, or that's the money that you're going to be using because it's a rotating line of credit to be able to maybe buy groceries, etc., things like that, because you don't have income, you've lost your job. So I like to look at a credit card just like I would a computer. So a computer has just this amount of space of memory. And as you actually use up space on the computer, whether it's pictures, photos, editing, whatever you're doing and using the computer for, your memory or your space that's on the computer goes down. And what happens basically is the more you produce and more whatever you're doing on the computer, the less space you have. It keeps condensing, But what happens is that as you start to clear up your computer, and you start to clean it up and delete things that you've actually, projects you've either worked on or things that you actually have no longer use of, then you're actually creating more space and you're creating the memory back. So you have that same amount of memory that you started with, it's just your usage of it has changed, it's fluctuated. It's either you've used, the more you've used on it, the less space you've had. Then as you've deleted things and the more space you have, then you keep going and you actually and you end up right back where you started. That's a credit card. That's how you leverage and use a credit card. So as we know that credit cards, specifically rotating lines of credit, are there and available. But the issue that we have is that if we're actually just using the available space, the available funds that we have on there towards debt-related things, that's where we run into trouble. So the key hack that I want to share with you regarding the credit cards is to use the available funds that you have on there to be able to use that and invest in something that will actually turn and make more money for you. That's the key. The key about it is that when you have whatever available balance that you have on your credit cards, in order to be able to help pay for the balance, you want to make sure that you're looking into ways and hacks and options and opportunities to be able to use that money to be able to produce more money for you, so that maybe that money can not only pay off the entire credit card but put you in a different position altogether. And this is what we teach. We try to share this with people because a lot of times when you have these things and you're backed up against the wall, you need to have the knowledge and the wisdom of how to maneuver and out of it. And the only way that you can do that specifically with credit cards, you must use funds that you have on there in order to be able to produce more, where you don't necessarily have to use up the funds and then replace the money back out of your own pocket. You're taking funds out of that money and you're using and leveraging the money properly in order to produce more for yourself. So it's important to be able to learn how to do that. How do you take funds that you have available on your credit card and what do you put it into? How do you actually invest it, or how do you utilize it in order to be able to make more money for yourself right now? Short term, not long term, short term, also long term, but specifically short term in the immediate. So it's important to learn those two things. Number one, how to negotiate when it comes to dealing with your foreclosure, to be able to get more time, to be able to buy time, to be able to have the lender reduce debt, etc. Regarding your foreclosure and your property. And number two, how to actually utilize the available funds that you have remaining on your credit card to make more money with it, to pay off the credit card so that you're not burdened and saddled with that responsibility. So we'd like to help you and share with you how to implement these strategies, both for your foreclosure and also for your credit card. And if you need help with your home or with your credit cards, please feel free to email us at AskRindeNetwork@gmail.com. So I just wanted to do this quick video to be able to share with you 2 tips that will help you with your foreclosure and also your credit cards as we move forward and see what happens in the next few months here going into next year. It's interesting times that we're in, but you want to make sure that you're insulated and you're secure and you're equipped with the knowledge to be able to not only navigate yourself through, but put your family and yourself in a better position altogether. Now, before we go, I just want to give a shout out and a big thank you to our giveaway winner, Miss Felicia M. Thank you for being a part of the channel. And if you'd like to actually join the next giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and comment on one of my videos. And I go through and I choose a random winner before the end of the month. And it'll be exciting to actually have you engaged and be a part of it. So we look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. If you have any comments, please let me know what you think about all the reasons that I listed as far as why we're at crisis as a nation. These are interesting times that we're in. I'll be so happy to hear what you have to say and your input about it. And also, if you need help, you can also comment below and we'll reach out to you. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.